So, just again, sound system. And closing that out, going into DJ Kool Herc, who was the one here, who was the one giving credit for hip hop. Although, again, there are people who will debate this. I have not seen anything online really to refute what is said. So, what exactly are people saying that he did? Why is he given credit? It says, okay, did Kool Herc invent hip hop? Uh, a Jamaican native who moved to New York City's Bronx borough at the age of 12, Kool Herc is widely credited as the originator of hip hop. A Jamaican native who moved to New York City's Bronx borough at the age of 12, Kool Herc is widely credited as the originator of hip hop. Kool Herc, given name Clive Campbell, came to prominence in the early 1970s when he began throwing dance parties in the rec room at his family's apartment complex in the South Bronx, at the time a blighted, crime-ridden neighborhood. Noting a spike in crowd energy during the instrumental breaks on the funk and soul records he spun, Hurt came up with the technique of extending the break by playing two copies of the same record on dual turntables. As one record reached the end of the break, he cued the other record back to the beginning of the break, turning a snippet of a record into an extended loop. He initially called the technique the merry-go-round, but it came to be called breakbeat DJing, and its sound would spawn an entirely new culture. Taking a page from Jamaican toasters, Herc also commandeered the mic to rally dancers with rhymed exhortations calling dancers break boys and break girls, or B boys and B girls, laying the groundwork for rapping. Now, again, we've already seen, or at least I've shown images. I didn't play anything because, copyright and all that, uh, of the Ijala, which you can look that up and listen to the Ijala chanting, the Imma Imbum chanting, and also all of the other uh, African American who were rapping prior to Jamaican toasting. Busy at the turntables, he eventually turned the mic over to Coke LaRock, who can lay claim to being the first ever hip hop MC. So Coke LaRock is African American from North Carolina. What I would say is that hip hop was created by African Americans and Afro Caribbean people, but again, there are people who don't want that to be the case. They want it to be simply that African Americans, or what they prefer to call foundational Black Americans, or um, American descendants of slavery, were the creators of it, and Caribbean people had nothing to do with it. But that is what he is given credit for, the merry-go-round technique, the looping, and so on that I read for you. But another pioneer of hip hop was Disco King Mario, who was a DJ during the disco era, and he was African American as well. Disco King Mario was a pioneer of hip hop in the 1970s. Mario was a prominent DJ of the New York Bronx. The Universal Hip Hop Museum. So he is another pioneer. He is African American or was. Going back, just read about some stuff about him. Disco King Mario was a pioneer of hip hop in the 1970s. Mario was a prominent DJ of the New York Bronx. At the time, he lived in the Bronxdale housing projects where his parties made him well known locally. Mario's family hailed from Edenton, North Carolina. Okay, so closing that out. There we go. John Canoe, we get into John Canoe. This is interesting. This is again people trying to make separations. So John Canoe was a masquerade performance that was of West African and possibly also some European influence, especially by the fact that it took place during um, Christmas time. But it was a form of masquerading that was done in North Carolina and also in Jamaica. So we see it's interesting to me, interesting coincidence that some of the pioneers of hip hop, such as Coke La Rock, if you want to give credit to Pigmeat Markham, also from North Carolina, Disco King Mario, also from North Carolina, and just happens to be the case that someone from Jamaica was is also given credit as one of the pioneers of hip hop. Now, I'm not saying that every person from uh, early pioneer was from North Carolina, but that's just interesting to me. But again, we can close this out, and we can close this out. This is an Igbo masquerade. Well, it will be when it opens. Uh, Igbo masquerades Catherine Anye Muluk Anye Melukwe. We see the similarity in the costume with looks like rags and a horned headdress or mask. That's interesting to me, at least. And now we will go into graffiti, which is another part of hip hop. Basically, writing or drawing on walls. And this is from the San people, who are some of the oldest people in the world. So the idea of writing on walls, making one's mark on walls, is this is very ancient, very very ancient. And so to say that just started, with African Americans, I would say no. Doggone people, their rock art. what's interesting to me is, well, some of I guess the shapes are interesting. And we will close this out. And I said, ask the Google gods